Let's get started. Number 10, people who like you actually like you. If you're conventionally attractive, you've got a problem. You can never be completely sure if someone actually enjoys your company or if they just want something from you. A Washington State University study found that attractive people are viewed with suspicion. Researchers called it the femme fatale effect. Both men and women unconsciously distrust good-looking people because they assume they're using their looks to get ahead. Attractive businesswomen in the study were rated as less truthful and more deserving of being fired than their average-looking counterparts. But when you're ugly, that coworker laughing at your jokes isn't trying to get promoted through you. That person who remembers your birthday isn't hoping you'll introduce them to your attractive friends. They're there because they genuinely enjoy who you are. Every friendship you have is built on the foundation of your actual personality, not your cheekbones. That's a luxury attractive people literally cannot afford. Number 9, you developed a personality early. Kids who can't coast on their looks are forced to develop other skills to navigate the social world. While the cute kid was getting attention just for existing, you had to actually become interesting. You had to learn to tell stories, ask good questions, and make people feel valued. The traits you develop during childhood tend to stick with you for life. So, while conventionally attractive kids were relying on a temporary advantage that would eventually fade, you were building permanent skills. Your wit, your empathy, your ability to read a room. Those don't wrinkle. Those don't sag. Those get better with age. Number 8, you're underestimated and then surprise people. Being underestimated is a superpower disguised as an insult. When people expect nothing from you, everything you accomplish lands with extra impact. A study from the London School of Economics found something counterintuitive. Very unattractive people actually earned more than slightly unattractive people in certain circumstances. The researchers dug into why and discovered that the very unattractive group tended to have higher intelligence and education levels. When you're not being handed opportunities based on your appearance, you develop other assets. And when you deploy those assets, people are genuinely shocked. The attractive person who delivers a brilliant presentation gets a polite golf clap. The ugly person who delivers that same presentation gets whispered about for weeks. They had no idea. That's the kind of impression that builds careers. Number 7, you learned humor as a survival skill. There's a reason so many comedians describe difficult childhoods. A study published in Frontiers in Psychology analyzed over 200 professional performers and found that the more adverse childhood experiences they had, the more intense their creative abilities became. Freud actually called humor the highest of the defense mechanisms. When life is difficult, some people crumble. Others learn to find the absurdity in their circumstances. Psychologist Samuel Janus studied comedians and found their early lives were often characterized by suffering, isolation, and feelings of deprivation. Humor became their way out. If you weren't the pretty kid, you probably became the funny kid. And funny travels a lot further than pretty in the long run. Number 6, you don't waste time or money on appearance maintenance. A massive 93-country study found that people spend an average of 4 hours per day on appearance-enhancing behaviors. 4 hours of makeup, hair styling, clothing selection, skincare routines, and staring at mirrors. Women spend roughly 55 minutes per day on grooming alone. That adds up to about 2 full weeks per year dedicated to looking presentable. The beauty industry is worth over $500 billion globally, and it survives by convincing people they need to constantly improve their appearance. When you've already accepted that you're not winning any beauty pageants, you're freed from this hamster wheel. That 4 hours a day, you could learn a language, you could build a business. You could read every book on your shelf. While others are layering serums in order of molecular weight, you're actually living your life. Number 5, you filter out shallow people automatically. Your face is doing you a favor by repelling exactly the kind of people you don't want in your life anyway. Think of it as a built-in screening mechanism. The people who would ghost you because of your appearance are the same people who would eventually make you miserable in other ways. They're the people who care more about Instagram aesthetics than actual connection. What you're left with is a concentrated group of humans who value substance. These are the people who will actually show up when your life gets hard. They're not going anywhere when you age, when you get sick, when circumstances change. Your inner circle might be smaller, but it's made of titanium while others are working with tissue paper. Number 4, You built confidence that isn't tied to looks. Looks-based confidence has an expiration date. A study using machine learning to simulate aging found that women's perceived attractiveness declined by over 10 points per decade, with the steepest drop happening after age 40. Men held on a bit longer, but still saw significant declines after 50. If your entire sense of self-worth is built on your appearance, you're building a house on sand. But if you've developed confidence based on your competence, your character, and your contributions, that's bedrock. Psychologists call this stable self-esteem. It doesn't crash when you catch a glimpse of yourself in a store window. Number 3, you're taken more seriously in professional settings. Remember that femme fatale effect from earlier? It works the other direction too. Research has consistently shown that attractive people, particularly attractive women, face a credibility penalty at work. They're assumed to have gotten where they are through their looks rather than their abilities. A study published in the journal Sex Roles found that regardless of the industry, whether traditionally masculine like tech or traditionally feminine like public relations, attractive women were consistently considered less truthful. Meanwhile, when you succeed without the appearance advantage, people attribute your success purely to competence. Nobody's whispering that you slept your way to the top or that you got hired because the manager thought you were cute. Number 2, you age better because you never peaked early. The saddest words in the English language aren't could have been. They're peaked in high school. When your best years are behind you at 18, life becomes one long, depressing descent. But when you were never conventionally attractive to begin with, aging isn't a loss. It's just a continuation of the same game you've been playing all along. Studies on perceived age and attractiveness found that older faces are categorically rated as less attractive. People who never relied heavily on their appearance report higher life satisfaction as they age compared to those who did. They never built their identity around something they were guaranteed to lose. While former prom kings and queens are booking consultations with plastic surgeons and panicking about every new wrinkle, you're just out here living your life exactly as you always have been. Number 1, you know your worth isn't your face. This is the big one. Research shows that appearance-related self-worth makes people psychologically fragile. When people base their self-esteem on their physical appearance, they experience more instability, more anxiety, and more distress. They're constantly scanning for threats to their attractiveness and interpreting neutral feedback as criticism. But when you've been forced to decouple your sense of self from your appearance, you've achieved something most people never do. Your value as a human being has nothing to do with the arrangement of features on your face. It's about what you contribute, how you treat others, what you create, and who you choose to be. That's not cope. That's not a participation trophy. That's the actual truth about human worth. And you figured it out decades ahead of schedule. Look, this video isn't claiming that being ugly is better than being attractive. Attractive people have documented advantages in hiring, earning, and even receiving lighter prison sentences. But there's a hidden curriculum that comes with being on the other side of that coin. You develop skills, perspectives, and psychological resources that the beautiful people often don't acquire until much later in life, if ever. So if you've been dealt a rough hand in the genetic lottery, congratulations. You've been enrolled in an accelerated program for developing actual human value. The lessons are harder, but the knowledge stays with you forever. That's all for today. If you learned something new, subscribe for more videos like this one.